to become existing forever within our souls. Some do even know, and life will go on, but then we'll become just nothing at all. Just nothing, just nothing, just nothing, just nothing at all, nothing at all, nothing at all, nothing at all. And then we'll become just nothing at all.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here, Pasta, Pooble, and Noctish, all ready and raring to go for map number 2, 20Stars versus Myth Esports. Now, this is a team, 20Stars, if you don't recognise them, they were Ducks and Clutch from the Quals. They've been picked up by this Italian organisation, and they're here in the Masters Division to hopefully do well for themselves.
Yep, and I think this whole season, and particularly this match for Myth, is kind of a chance to bounce back. This is a team that had a pretty good run of things in Titan Series, heading into those Combine quals and into the Combine. They had quite a sort of impressive sort of streak of wins, I believe at one point, around about 8 wins in a row. Then they've fallen into quite a slump here. In the past 14 matches, they've won 2 of them, I believe. So they really are kind of looking for a way to bounce back from here, because it's a good roster. It's a team that has achieved a lot of great things, a lot of good results.
Yeah.
They just, I feel like they need something to really help them to bounce back.
Yeah, absolutely. Noctish?
Maybe a good analyst from like me can help them. I'm just suggesting here. I don't know. Joke aside, yeah, exactly. Myth coming into season 9 was one of the teams most promising into actually winning the season. Moving forward, their actions through Arxis Combine and other leagues that they have played so far were not promising at all, as you said. So these kind of struggles, it's understandable. So, for example, we see Koi right now in T1 going through a pretty tough time, and they have great players on the roster. So it's not always the players or the teams or the coach. It's just essence of these individuals that need to understand the synergy between themselves and find the momentum that they can go inside very hard. So fingers crossed they can actually bounce back.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's have a look at where we will be playing. Let's bring up the map veto for everyone at home. 20Stars versus Myth Esports. For a second I thought it hadn't updated. We're back to Chalet for this one. 20Stars choosing to go to the defense first again. So now with our increased insights into how this map plays in the new season, obviously with that previous game, we'll start with Noctish now this time. Where are you thinking this game will take us? How do you think the result will pan out?
So we have a myth that there are a lot of wards available on them. So it is possible 20Stars Esports have analyzed them enough to go with a complete open eye into this game. On the other hand, we have the X-Docs on Clutch, where there is literally no VODs, as far as I'm aware, available on them. So it's a kind of dark horse for Myth Esports. But one thing is the experience Myth Esports have, both on T3, T2-ish, since they were ex-Benelux teams, and the synergy and synchronization between these players that have been playing for long time together. So I'm going to say there are possibilities for Myth to have an easy game. But I'm not going to say Myth is going to win. I'm saying there is a possibility. Yeah, what? Sorry, what's it?
So you think it's going to be a 20-star dub?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. We're going to head into the game now shortly. Thank you, Noctish. We'll see you again at the end of the match. As for us, Joe, heading back to the French Alps, heading back to Chalet, let's take a look at these operator bans as well. Dockerby off the board. And who next, do you reckon?
I'm potentially looking at one of those nade ops, maybe just something like a Yana to just stunt the pace a bit. Instead, Flores, so I'm going to hope Myth are going to take that Flores and Azami pair out of the equation, just because we saw how strong Azami could be in that last matchup there. So hopefully they've learned from that and they take out a different operator, or they take out her, and that's exactly what happens. Flores, Azami, both of them sort of countering each other, just taken completely out of the equation. That's obviously going to benefit other operators, particularly something like maybe like Goyo, anyone with shields, because there's no Flores there. And it's also going to free up a lot of those nade operators to do other things because they don't have to deal with those barricades. Solace taking off the board as well. So this time, in fact, we're going to be seeing Fenrir on the board in Chalet.
Yeah, absolutely. Fenrir on the board. And again, we've got some RAM action that we might be able to see. Obviously, Myth are going to be bringing those ones along. And now considering this operator ban selection as well. And also, I mean, let's not beat around the bush. This Myth Esports team beat Dunlimited in the Titan series. Obviously, it's not entirely the same roster. Kieran and Gio are coming in. But there's still a majority of the players were on that team that made it to the quarterfinals of Titans 4.
Yeah, they topped their group in Titans back when they were on that really sort of good stretch of wins.
Yeah.
And as we were talking about, they're just in what seems to be a slump here, really. It's kind of bad for the players because you really need to find just a good string of wins. That to be fair to them, that could be exactly what happens here heading into this series of Talent League. They might have that bounce back because they've shown they can be incredibly good. But you can't help but think that maybe sort of the vibes are down in the Myth Esports camp. You might think they might not be playing to their usual standard because of this, and they just get caught almost in that vortex. So what I'm really looking for here from Myth is a lot of trust in their teammates and a lot of confidence, especially on their attack here, to just sort of prove that they're out of this slump. They are back in their winning ways. Those are the two, I think, the sort of the key aspects you would see if they are back to this former team.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, for their sake, that we see it, because you know we've seen stacks around Talent League for absolutely ages. I feel like it would be criminal if his team sort of bombed out of the league. And oh my God! Speaking of stacks bombing out, he's absolutely taken down out of this round at least. That's a wonderful shot there from Cheetah with the early aggression working out for TwentyStars.
Yep, just talking about, it'd be criminal to see Stags out of the league, and, well, we're not seeing him in this round, unfortunately. The Hibana, not that big of a loss here. There's only sort of one hatch you'd maybe think that could be used for, and often defensive teams will choose to just keep that open because it helps with denying that plant instead. Still, a loss is a loss. It's a loss of flashbangs, a loss of a gun. It can make things much more difficult for Myth here as they are already staring down this man disadvantage here, and it might just require a little bit of aggression. Puko seemingly wants to jump into that mudroom window, but instead chooses against it. Still a lot of secured players on this library position here. They just aren't giving the attack any kind of leeway into the building, it looks like. Just keeping them at bay, not really wanting to deal with those threats at all. Choco does finally get another here and evens it out, but still not all the time left for Myth to do the rest of the legwork.
And there's Solo with a kill, looking to find a second. Puka going down, and Solo was looking towards maybe this sort of fireplace door to try and find a second, catch someone off guard, but not to be, at least for the moment, into this 4 versus 3 for TwentyStars. Player advantage they have, and they might just be able to see that through to the end. Obviously, we can't count out this Myth side, especially Choco, who was the MVP against Unlimited. It's like 16 kills in 9 rounds. Absolutely ridiculous. But again, as soon as I say we can't count someone out, they immediately die. So I'm going to shut my mouth because that's another kill going down. Kieran at least gets one, brings it to within 1 again, and there's a kill from Gio as well. Suddenly, we're in an even player count here, Joe. 2 versus 2 with 40 seconds left to play. And there goes the fire in towards the corridor. Okay, there we go. Skull does finally get caught out by that one. I was going to say, if he doesn't die to that, that would be impressive. But there's another kill. Geo taken down. It's just on Kieran left trying to clutch this 1 versus 2.
Yeah, not really much he can do here to sandwich him either side. But that being said, takes down Cheetah, so now he still has a potential chance here. Got all 4 of those bolts in the pocket as well. Can potentially use them for that arid now for coverage. And he actually does end up winning it. Takes him out there, just shooting through the smoke, pushing forward. That confidence we were just asking for has been shown to us right there. Very good first round there. Very good clutch from the side of Myth Esports.
Yeah, absolutely. It works out well, and immediately we've got the question marks in the chat. I mean, that's another thing about Myth. They are not scared of pressing T and giving a little bit of a type before pressing enter. That's something that they like to do. As for 20Stars, I mean, that's not great from them, to be honest. I mean, it's a 1 versus 2, but they were playing isolated and probably a bit too focused on getting the kills that they needed, and just Kieran played that pretty much perfectly, as you could want. Played it slow, waited for the players to get aggressive swing into him pretty much, and then that kill onto the mirror just slows it down, doesn't allow any sound cues to be given. The smoke as well onto the mirror window completely covers the position. Perfectly played.
Yeah, just great utility usage, great confidence as well. It's something that's really promising here, because often when you see teams in slumps like this, you see they just seem to almost lack that energy. They lack that cohesiveness, but Myth immediately proven us wrong. Can they keep the ball rolling heading into this basement attack? They've got that Thermite Ace pairing, so these walls, in particular that Snowmobile wall, should be taken out basically immediately. It's always good to just get that exothermic charge on ASAP, just to provide that pressure, that phantom pressure we saw in that previous matchup, and it really helps to really cut up that site. Given the Thatcher's on that side as well, basically no excuses to leave it so late. So yep, immediately stacks 30 seconds in, opening that wall, great pace. I doubt we'll see a push from this angle though, just mainly used, oh no! A catastrophic misuse of utility there, the ace charge. Destroying the Thermite itself, just placed too much together, and that could really ruin things. Obviously, you still have that hold, you still have the avenue to deal damage into the site, to potentially go for a gunfight. It still provides a bit of a threat, but it makes entry a lot more difficult. It allows the defense many more opportunities to sort of maneuver around the site, and that could really come to cost them. That being said, Myth, they're just going to charge in. 2 ping Geo gets another double for him. 2 versus 5 Myth. They saw the mistake and they just hit the go button anyway.
Completely leaving that backside open, but here's Shiva and Bio finding kills as well. Into a 2 versus 3. Stax is getting that diffuser down over by the bins. That entire backside push just a distraction now. Shiva looking to rotate down Bio as well, but that diffuser is going to be planted now. 40 seconds on the clock for this retake to come through from 20Stars Myth Esports. They found the angle. Oh no! An uncharacteristic whiff from Choco, and that allows 20Stars back into this round. But as soon as that kill comes through, a trade happens from Stax. Now it is just Shiva, and I don't think he knows Akira's positions. He don't know, looks away, still able to get the kill. Cheetah with the question mark, and there's another one in return. A questionable play at the end there, but it all works out for Myth.
Yeah, Myth very aggressive in these first 2 rounds.
This is the Myth we love to see.
It's certainly a refreshing change, as it seemed like in that previous matchup. Both teams really struggled attacking and struggled getting to the site, so Myth just getting these pretty fast pushes immediately with, I guess, mixed results in that first round. They still end up winning it out on the clutch, but specifically in that second round, things didn't seem to be going their way, and specifically when they wasted that Thermite charge. And I thought for a second we'd see them really just slow to a halt, think about what they could do now, but they didn't let that waste of utility get them too much. They just charged into that wine cellar. A great example of that phantom pressure, as we saw defenders holding angles that just simply weren't being used by the attack. So very good job there. Very good decision making from Myth to make that rotate, make that potential gamble there, and it paid off wonderfully for them, giving them their second round. 2-0 on Chalet attack here, as they are given another basement defense to sink their teeth into. We might potentially see another sort of fast push, or we could see more of a roam clear. From the presence of that Yana and that Nook, those 2 nade operators, I think we are going to be leaning more into a roam clear. You can certainly use those nades to dislodge any defenders in particularly hard to reach positions. It allows you to basically deal with those second floor defenders from an entirely different floor. So from those operator picks, I think that, although something onto an Ash, still an entry op, but also particularly fast, we could just see another very quick execute here.
Yeah, we absolutely could. And I mean, Stax is already making his way over to this main breach sort of wall. Maybe going to be opening that up just as quickly, if not quicker. Geo as well, I thought maybe he was going to go for a hot breach there this time, learning from those mistakes of the past and opening that one up a bit further to the right, and this time it's going to go off without a hitch, I believe.
Yep, once again, just getting that breach open this time, a lot bigger of a hole for them to use to just try and deal with these defenders. But again, I don't think its main purpose is getting picks. It's just to scare the defense, to really flush them out of snowmobiles. We're seeing a primarily focused attack onto this library, a trade, I believe, directly between the Yana and the Legion, but that allows Choco to just slink in, take this top floor control. Geo as well. They're managing to just flush these defenders back to site, and depending on how quickly they can box them down there, this could be a very, very easy execute. Stacks up for potentially another pick. He does have that case on him, though, so he might be better advised to just not exactly go for those entry gunfights.
Well, a little bit of a standstill right now, just some rotations coming in from the attack, just changing that approach angle, holding angles as well through vertical, all the way from the top floor down. We've hit an impasse really inside of this round. Myth aren't going too aggressive. They're making sure to drone things out because, again, when they rushed in, they had the information that no one was watching that sort of trench area. And there is another pick. Geo takes out Shiva, just a little bit too ambitious on that, and that opens up this round now for Myth Esports. Stax trying to get his kill in, and he's going to plant in direct view of the connector, but still getting this diffuser down. Geo as well, and there's Bio going down. He had absolutely no idea. Caught with their pants down, 20Stars, and now it is just on Skull in a 1 versus 4. And Geo shuts it out and shuts him down. Myth Esports, they're up to 3 and looking so incredibly strong here on Chalet.
Yeah, and that was a particularly sort of puzzling push from Myth there, particularly that plant spot. Maybe the smoke was misthrown, because that smoke has one primary purpose, and that is just to block off the lines of sight made. It doesn't block off the connector doorway. Granted, they did drone connector, but that was quite a while ago, and especially when you take shots from the connector, surely you would not want to plant somewhere where you can be seen from there. That being said, there was no response after those initial shots were fired. There was a Warden in blue who was expertly dispatched of by Myth, so still, they had a fairly cohesive plan to clear out blue, to make sure connector was clear, place those smoke grenades down, but one play from 20Stars there really could have crippled that whole attack if they get that kill on the planter, but I guess just indecisiveness, maybe fear that there was another player watching that angle, resulted in that defensive player not re-peeking, not re-swinging, and it allows Myth, as you said, getting their third, really building up quite a bit of momentum here. Flawless sort of first half to their attacks here. They've really shown that they are incredibly strong here. The defense going back to bar and gaming, so not even wanting to try that top floor site or try kitchen, just sticking with their guns here. And if they lose this round, I would definitely like to see them branch out a bit, expand into those other sites, because you can't just keep losing the same site. Solo, though, thinks he has the solution, going for a very aggressive peek.
I think maybe heard a drone there or something, forces him off the angle, forces him to try and find something else. In the meantime, we've got more aggressive peaks, Bio and Cheetah, all of them just shoving their heads out of windows, trying to get anything onto this Myth Esports side, but they're not being given even a single pick in the early round here. And Choco just misses on that mirror window. Second time's the charm. Twitch drone is taken out, but again, not before that window can go down, so that's going to really weaken that position on top mezzanine. And oh, look at this, Cheetah and Geo, are they aware of each other's positions, just holding angles, holding with their guns up, and still neither of them taking the move, taking that initiative, just happy to watch and wait and stare.
Yeah, intel being fed onto that player behind the mirror window. Nade's now being cooked. Gio, though, doesn't seem to have any intel on any of the players and does get taken down by Solar, so there was potential for a very advantageous gunfight in the basement. That was wasted, though, due to Gio's indecisiveness. Just hold that angle, no real drone utility either really paving the path for him. So it results in his life, 6 and 3 for him, but no more impact in this round as 20Stars are looking to try and get their first hit. They've still got heavy presence above. Shiva challenging the player on those windows, but not getting too aggressive, knows that all he needs to do is hold that stairway, hold that corridor, and there's nothing the attack can really do. It's really up to Myth to try and force the issue, try and negotiate around this whole defensive setup and get a pick here. But they're so split up, and the defense are playing so defensively. There's no real risk being taken. Wow, could have got one. It was actually Cheetah instead. Brings up to a 5 versus 3, and things are looking bad for Mytha.
Yeah, Shiva finds a kill onto Kieran. First death of the game for him. As it stands Myth in a 2 versus 5. This one looking like it's going to go the way of 20Stars, save for some heroics from Myth that we could see coming out, but again, I don't think it will be possible, and even less so now with just Stacks. And the 1 versus 5 is flawless from 20Stars. They bring it back, and maybe, just maybe, we might actually have a game on our hands, because I was worried it was going to be a blowout, Joe.
Yeah, it seemed like a very one-sided affair in those first 3 rounds. Myth just kind of stomping over 20Stars though, but once they finally got that opening pick and they doubled down, 20Stars looked very good in that defense. They just need to keep replicating that. Now going to the second floor, they aren't willing to try the basement a 3rd time, quite rightly if you ask me. They didn't seem to have a clue of how to defend it when Myth were attacking there, so opting for a completely unknown site here in this matchup, going to the second floor with a dock as well, so that immediately suggests they're going to be playing quite aggressive. They know they're going to be taking some damage, and they just have that failsafe with the dock to heal them back up for when they execute finally comes. Of course, though, there is the issue of the dock can't heal you if you're dead. And if you're going to get very aggressive against a team that are shown to be very good in their guns like Myth have so far, you might just over-aggress a bit too much and end up losing your life here. So it's a bit of a balancing act for 20Stars. They can't get too aggressive here, or else that dock pick from Solar just simply won't be of any use.
Yeah, and absolutely on that point as well. If the dock dies, then no one gets healing as well. So even though you can play aggressive with the MP5, it's got some pretty good optics on it. You know, you have to try and balance that. We've seen in that previous round, 20Stars sticking their heads out of windows at the early round here. Solar is going to go for the same thing with the 1.5 on his MP5. But if he's caught out here with a pre-fire, then things could absolutely go badly. And there it is. All of that utility wasted. Picked it for the gun, and it's not worked out. Stacks finds the 2nd kill of the game, and already Myth Esports look like they might just be taken out to 4.
Yeah, another interesting thing about this attack, the ram being brought on a 2nd floor attack, quite intriguing here.
Yeah.
The only usage, I think, would maybe to destroy a window or a door very quickly, which would allow something like fast push, but you're bringing a Thatcher, you're bringing a Thermite, not exactly the fastest of operators there, so I'm really intrigued to see what Choco chooses to do with that gadget. Potentially clearing shields, I guess, but a lot of the commonplace shield spots here are like on that piano, which would require a very good throw and make you very exposed, so I'm not opposed to it, but I'm gonna have to see where Choco chooses to use this gadget here to really justify this pick.
I mean, he might just be picking it for the gun.
He might be. I mean, we saw how that worked out for Solar, so I can't approve of it if it's just a gun.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's Eva. Nearly gets a catch on the player droning behind the pillar, but just enough cover, just enough safety. It feels like Myth are almost uncharacteristically slow. They're slowed things down, helping on their drones, trying to get all the information that they can here. So we hit the halfway mark of the round. Obviously 1 minute 30. Flashbangs come in. Skull now effectively blinded. Tries to go for some pre-fires. A hop into library is there. Some more nades coming through. And Choco pushing forwards with the 1.5 on the R4C. It works out for him. Shiva's now down low as well downstairs. A C4 comes up, takes Kieran down to about 25 HP. But the push up from Bio isn't good enough. Cheetah at least finishes off Kieran. That is the Thatcher down. But it's still a 2 versus 4 for this 20Stars team.
Yeah, the gun, I guess, really does work out for Choco there. Gets 2 great picks there using that gun with the scope.
Yeah.
But still a bit perplexed, the operator choice. The Ash, faster, more advantageous for the gunfights, but Myth still making this work. Now they just need to really hit that final sort of target, get this execute going. They have the tools to get that wall open. They've lost the Thatcher, but a bug from below could deal with anything on the wall, and I think
Yep.
there was anything. Exothermic charge goes out, gives them free advance. I believe they
place
might see the
in
pixels of
each
each
other.
other's heads. Not sure if that's an observer thing or not, but Puku doesn't even put that into the chance. Gets that nade kill. Stack's taken down with a 1v3. There's nothing Chia can do. Choco cleans it up, and well, I doubted the ram pick, and although the gadget didn't see any use, the gun sure did. 3 kills for him, and Myth
Oh,
get up to 4.
That R4C is just crazy. Oh god, yeah. I mean, let's face it. A lot of that round was gunfights, right? Obviously, Myth, they took the time to get the information that they needed. They sat on their drones. They got things done, but it did come down to winning 1v1s. If we saw some more success from TwentyStars in the shooting department, perhaps we're 3-2 right now. But didn't happen. Myth are up to 4, and possibly even a 5-1 half here on Chalet on the attack.
Very much looking like that as the ram being locked in again. Choco, he's really loving that operator, really loving that gun. I can't really blame him. Incredibly fast rate of fire, incredibly good DPS. Just add that scope on as well. It can allow you to take those more mid to long range engagements. He can be a real monster here on that operator. And now on the basement, we might actually see some play from the gadget. Those drones can rip up the floorboard, can make defending a nightmare, especially around these wine cellar positions, because you see most of that ceiling anyway. The wooden ceiling is soft. There are a couple parts, I believe, that are hard. It's a bit sort of confusing with the sort of textures, but most of that can be broken around that fireplace position. Really is going to make life a nightmare for any defenders, so it's going to force them to roam here. We see, luckily for the side of TwentyStars, they are engaging quite heavily in a roam, and I think a bit of a miscommunication here, potentially.
But no, because Bio used the impact as well, so like
I guess it's so if you die, they can't rush.
I suppose so.
I mean, 20 seconds is a long time, but it's also quite a hefty utility usage. As now, there's no fire here. It's still a bit of a standoff, and it's very, very risky.
I mean, if Choco just continues to watch this, eventually at one point or another, they will get aggressive, even just to try and just reinforce that up. And indeed, Cheetah's taken down to 50 points of health. Right off the rip, there's aggression coming through from TwentyStars. I'm just not entirely sure if it's being utilized in the correct way. Questionable decisions as well with the usage of that utility. Maybe it was just a mistake. Didn't want to actually catch that Vulcan canister. We obviously don't know. We aren't privy to those communications. But here's the important thing. That wall is very much still open. And it's essentially a free breach for Myth. However, they've actually got control of this a lot slower than in that previous round. But Choco's found the kill. He's just in the bomb site. Somehow, Puko's found a kill. Choco a second. Solar at least finds one. But that plant's going down, courtesy of Stack's Skull, and Solar trying to retake. They've got absolutely no chance. Choco is an absolute demon. Puko's found double as well. Myth Esports, they find 5 in possibly the strangest round I've ever seen.
I'm gonna okay, new half. We'll very briefly talk about what we just saw. Incredibly bizarre defense from TwentyStars there. I get you want to be aggressive. You want to open up that wall to try and get an opening pick, although it hasn't worked out any of the other times you've gone for a spawn peek, so maybe just learn from your mistakes. But either way, they open that wall, and then they don't really have anyone actually watching the wall after they decide to not peek it. Now, obviously, if you're defending somewhere like Bar Gaming, if you're defending somewhere like Top Floor, that's fine. You can just leave the wall open. Who cares? Go somewhere else. That is the site. That is the place you have to stop the team from getting in, and Choco was allowed to just walk in there. I'm really not sure what TwentyStars' plan was. Maybe they're getting a little bit too ambitious, already thinking they're on the attacking side, because either way, they just up and left. They allowed Choco to have the free run of the place, carving through the remaining defenders there, and it allowed for an incredibly easy Myth win there. 5-1 on the half. Things are looking incredibly grim for TwentyStars here in this first matchup here. They've got a lot ahead of them, and now Myth, they get on that more comfortable side of the defense. Now TwentyStars have to come to them. This could be over before it even really began.
Mirror as well on this top floor is so very strong. We've got the castle players from the stacks. We have Fenrir, we have Frost. This is a defensive composition that's entirely designed to make 20Stars' lives miserable on the attack. They are going to have absolutely no joy in whatever they try to do. They will might as well just catch out the utility. And there's not even a Capitao that you might often see to clear out Suicide Corner inside a library. And Shiva's already taken damage, just rotating away from that main door and caught in the fadeaway. A little bit of chip damage and 20Stars. Even though they don't lose a player, it's at least going to make them a little bit more nervous about the possibilities that we have as a Bulletproof Camera EMP Blast actually takes away that that Brava drone as well. There's the line scan, but Geo is going to find the kill. Shiva off the back of the E1D will find the trade into a 4 versus 4. First minute's gone and we're already seeing a lot of the same sort of craziness that we got in that first half, and that's doubled down with Cheetah finding a pick onto Puko.
Yeah, and even if Cheetah didn't get that pick, I'd take that trade if I'm on the if I'm on the defense. To be honest, losing that Lion, you lose the remaining scans, you lose the DMR, very good weapon, and you lose that Gon 6, which is all great utility you can use to potentially facilitate and execute the Ram drone coming in, being used to destroy that castle barricade, give the attack a bit more sort of space around here, but still. These attackers pushing closer. Shiva in that fireplace position, caught out by the Grim Mine, but there's not really enough defensive manpower to capitalize on that. Now assisted by Cheetah here, so by Bao even, I think. So we have a fairly good setup from 20Stars. Even better now that Choco is taken down. They just need to just finish this, get this over the final hurdle on this round, get another round on the board, because if you let this slip away, the match is basically over. 6-1, and of course,
oh no,
it doesn't happen.
That's an unfortunate whiff. Let's ignore that, and instead, let's focus on the incredible work that 20Stars did. They were able to isolate those sort of positions. Yes, there was a lot of X-Kairos being wasted on that mirror window, but it was just the distraction that was provided for Choco for the kill to actually come through on that mirror playing on mezzanine. Still, I maybe would be like this, you're just beating your head against the wall with these X-Kairos pellets, but I guess it worked out. Maybe not necessarily the initial plan, but because I mean Choco got through pretty much the entire set.
It's just the benefit of that Hibana change. You have so much sort of versatility with that gadget ever since they buffed that. God, must have been something like 3 years ago now that they allowed her to switch how many pellets you use. You can now get, I think, up to 9 of those shots out. So it's just a great bit of distraction work. Great play from 20Stars there, even though things didn't really start off their way. Conceding that opening pick, trade came through pretty quickly, and they doubled down on top of it. So they've started off a bit of a push here. They're on technically a win streak. They've won 1 round so far. So they are looking to keep the ball rolling here on their attacks. We saw Myth have a very good run initially with their attacks, winning the first 3. And I sense a jump out. Geo, it's not worked for any of the other defensive players. What else can you bring to the table that makes you different?
What is he cooking here? I'm worried. I'm incredibly nervous for what this could entail, and yet there it is.
Oh look,
Jesus,
it didn't go well for the defense.
Immediately caught him out.
Cameron, where have I seen that before? I can't put my finger on it. Where has a defender spawn peeking got them killed in this matchup?
Most rounds where it happened. For the quick answer for you, pretty much every time.
It's wild.
That's crazy.
I've never seen that coming.
No, it's entirely unexpected. Oh god, this is what those boogie drones can do as well. Just all of this pressure on this top floor. Choco dimension averted, and there's the kill from Cheetah as well over on the other side, taking down Stacks, who's not necessarily having the highest impact in this game. Puko still control of this vertical, but not for long as the more pressure's coming in. That was just a Gemini, but now Choco's taking damage on the site itself. Suddenly Myth are in a very bad spot.
Yep, it's going to force these Myth players to make a play as well. Being 2 men down, they're going to have to get aggressive to try and even things out. With so many players on this corridor, yep, there's no chance for anyone to really get an uncontested pick. 4-2, sure. Puku was able to get one, but it traded out Choco's life instead, and now TwentyStars basically given the lion's share at this point. Cheetah, though, taken down by the hatch, but that's nothing to really worry about with so much site control and so much map control. Shiva just runs in, gets the pick anyway, and that's a third on the board for TwentyStars, slowly starting to string these wins together. But Myth, they still have plenty of other opportunities to get that 6th round.
There's a very attacker-sided Chalet that we're seeing here, Joe. The defense not really making it work at all. We've seen aggression from both of these defending sides, and it's not working out for any of them, really. Again, those spawn peaks, we highlighted it in the round. It's just not working out. Like, try something else. And Myth are back to bar gaming. Oh, I don't know how I feel about this one. Obviously, they tried bar gaming, didn't work. Went down to the basement, didn't work. They're back here to their sort of first option. Obviously, if they win it, there's still opportunity for them to play it later on in the half, should we need all 12 rounds, of course. So that's at least that, and if they win this one, they get up to match point as well. They at least secure 1 point in the overall standings too, and are in prime position to look to push it for all three.
Yeah, once again, seeing that RAM being used, and I can't help but think it might just be again due to the gun. Sure, there's a bit of soft floor around here, but it can be very difficult to actually get that access to it, especially the sort of mezzanine position that's heavily guarded. You could potentially use that drone as well to destroy shields, maybe something like the library stair shield that's often played. But again, I think Solar just sees a R4C with a scope, and he gets very, very happy. So we'll have to see if that play is really going to work out here. And an interesting, very, very old mirror position.
There it is.
A wonderful pick, likely to be uncontested as well. And the question mark in chat immediately follows it.
Oh, as soon as you see the question mark, that's when you know. Probably like the first spawn peak that we've seen actually come to fruition. Cheetah using the hard breach charges on the Grim to open up that castle barricade. I believe Stacks was posting up as well on that side. Just to try and see a spawn peak, but that one comes through, barricade up, get away from there. Perfectly played for them to waste some time, and it certainly worked out. But the Ram and the Grim combined could actually be a fairly oppressive force. We'll just have to see. Solar, obviously that doesn't break all the way through, but charging on forward opens up that castle barricade, and now makes it slightly more difficult for the defense as these bees start to come on through.
Yeah, very, I guess, oppressive gadget, the bees. Obviously, they don't deal any damage, but they give that live ping if you're in that swarm, so it can be very difficult for a defender to go for a quick engagement without sort of facing lasting consequences. Shiva, on this sort of deep flank here, he's yet to really give away his position. This chaos caused by the ram drones and the bees could be exactly what he needs to slip out into the corridor and potentially get picked. Looking at those two players in that death box, and exactly that happens. He gets one, can continue to swing on the mezzanine, pressuring that defender, but still close to another castle barricade. The bees! They take down Geo, and now 1 versus 4, it's all on Cheetah, as actually things go drastically the way of Myth there. It looked like a great push from TwentyStars, but they all just lost their gunfights. Cheetah alone in library has good positioning, but intel on him from those yellow pings looking highly unwinnable for him.
Has already found 2 picks, though, in the chaos and the carnage of those few seconds of just kills raining through. Still 2 players left to find, and Puko has this prone angle on the stairs, just changing some F-nuts around. They don't necessarily know incredibly where Cheetah has gone. Instead, just sitting on his drone, still might get called out from this prone of Puko. Instead, he's able to sort of rotate around a little bit. Stack still watching from this hatch position. Cheetah's taking the rotate round. The fireplace finds the door, blocks in his path. That's going to be information gathered by this Myth defense. They now know where he's pushing from this, as the Dreadmine hasn't gone off. They're just sitting back. They want to wait until this utility activates, and there it is. There's a swing off of it. Puko finds the kill, and Myth Esports find match point.
Yeah, really just highly needed round from Myth there. They don't let 20Stars continue to build up that streak of rounds, and they get to the match point. That means 1 point even, at the very least, will be given to Myth by the end of this, and unless 20Stars can string 3 rounds in a row here, Myth are going to get that 3 points from this matchup. So already looking very good for them, but it's not over for 20Stars as of yet. Still an opportunity to keep going, but it has to be flawless now. There's no room for mistakes here, and Myth, they've looked a bit shaky on their defenses. It looked, to be honest, like 20Stars was going to win that round in the sort of mid-round position. Shiva was in a great spot. There was a lot of utility being used, but it's a shooter. You get shot in the head, you die, Cameron. You love that quote. So it's just exactly what happened.
You seem to quote it more than I do.
I like Brand. Brand's a good caster. But it very much looked
incredibly
like
funny.
Myth just won their ones there, and as heartbreaking as it kind of seems, that's just something you can't plan around. It's something that's just in the heat of the moment. You can't rely on that, I guess, if you're Myth, but at the same time, you can't play around it for 20Stars. So it's a bit... It can certainly be a bit of a morale breaker for 20Stars, as it looked to be going their way at first. They can't let that round get to them too much. But still, they've still got a big task ahead of them. 3 rounds in a row required as we're heading to this kitchen defense. Am I right in thinking that's the first in this matchup?
But it's definitely the first of this half. And again, you say they can't let that round get to them. Skull 0-8 picking onto the Amaru. And, you know, maybe it works out. Maybe it's an absolute giga brain play. But Gio's found another opening pick early on with a kill onto Bayo. Not going great for 20Stars, and again that pressure starting to mount. We saw how much damage that pressure can do in the previous match, and maybe it isn't quite working. Gio chucks the what in the chat. He's a bit confused as to how he died from that, but I mean, you've just got the Amaru on the rappel. Not necessarily her primary usage, considering you have those Gara hooks, but it works out for 20Stars. 4 versus 4. So we head into this sort of mid-round area. They have the diffuser back, obviously it was in the hands of Bayo. Now Solar being the one to pick that up. Skull chucking in his flashbangs. They have the drone on the player on the stairs as well, but Choco is playing the Warden. These flashbangs aren't going to do squat, and Kieran is here for backup.
Cheetah gets 1, but Shiva traded out in his place. Kieran gets that, so there's still this defensive presence on this top floor. The Warden being taken down, though, could finally allow Skull to get into that window as Cheetah continues ripping up the floorboards, just clearing out from 2 floors above him to ensure his teammate can get it there. But meanwhile, Solar, taken down, just doesn't quite have that same magic touch on the round that we were seeing from Choco there. Still 4 and 7, just not finding enough engagements there. Is still Myth players continuing to just let their presence be known on that top floor. Skull not even in the building yet, it looks like. Still on that rappel on the Amaru. An operator that really sort of rewards you for these fast pushes, rewards you for having the confidence, and Skull just lacks that. 1 and 8 here. Back on the ground now, unsure where he's going to go from. Potential for an ascension through the hatch if you go through that garage instead. Looking to go through that window, but it's being watched. There's really nothing 20Stars can do here. It's all reliant on Cheetah popping off, I'd say, as Skull is still just nowhere near in a good position to really get anything done.
And Skull's position should be known by this Myth Esports defense. The proximity alarm did go off on his west main stairs with 45 seconds now on the clock. He's pushing in further. Cheetah might actually have the catch here. And there it is. Stacks caught in 2 minds. Has to look 2 different ways. And now he's caught out. Pupil and Kieran, though, still have vertical. Kieran's on these stairs. Skull watching, waiting for this. But there's the catch. No, not quite. Cheetah able to slip away. Now the swing coming through from Skull. Kieran has dipped away. Now watching these vertical angles. Again, they're just looking the wrong way at the wrong time. Myth, we've seen them win out their gunfights before. They're an incredibly aggressive team, and we know how good they can be with these gunfights. Now, this vertical being watched. Puko has the angle, has the down. 7 seconds now, and that means Skull, if he does start to plant, it will go down into stalemate. But there's a kill onto Kieran. The drops come through. Puko, risky play, but it still works out for the Myth Esports. 7 rounds to 3. Complete domination and control of Chalet.
Yeah, Myth really just walked all over them there. They looked much more proficient on both sides there. We saw some great individual plays, some most members of that Myth roster as well, stringing together a lot of multi-kills throughout that match. Incredible performance from them here. And, you know, we might finally be out of that Myth slump we were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like they might just be back. Could it be? Could it be? But we've got Noctish here now with us, Joe. Hello again, Noctish. First of all, just one simple question. Did you enjoy that game?
Very much, very much. The amount of potential that Myth released into this game, the passion, the speed, the aggressiveness they deliver to these each round, whether it was attack or defense, was massive. You hearing me?
We
Yeah,
are now. You may be cut out just for a second, but
Okay, yeah, don't worry. So I'll just say it again. So the amount of passion, speed, and aggressiveness these guys put into this game and put into this round was completely massive. The potential these individual players showed is promising. They were not afraid to go get the kills, get into the side, find the flaws, and find those loopholes in the defense of TwentyStars was great. And this comes not only from the experience, but the synergy between each player and the communication they provide together as a team. This was a perfect example of how fearless you need sometimes to gain what you want, especially the absolute amazing push into the basement snowmobile that it was out of nowhere. No one expected it, but that small flaw that they saw that no one is holding, there is a potential to rush in, they took it and it paid off.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just. I will just say, Noctish. Very sorry, but you were indeed wrong in this prediction. So 1-for-1 on the day. You said that 20 would take it. Unfortunately, it wasn't even that close. But I mean, it with the form that we've had from Myth, like Joe was saying about, what was it, 14L streak? You can't really expect too much out of them. This is a great showing from a sign who maybe have a new lease of life. Joe, what do you think?
I think it was definitely a nice change of pace from that previous match. They certainly seemed like a much more confident, much more active team than those previous two teams we saw in match one.
Yeah.
I think that there's a good there's a good factors for a team that might be still not performing the best. The fact that they are showing this confidence, they have that trust. We saw them playing as a cohesive team, because that's really, I think, the biggest thing you'll see in a team that's having those issues, that is having these big sort of loss streaks, is the fact that they will start to sort of break and fragment into more of like 5 individuals than one team. And from Myth, we definitely saw that they were still very much a unit, a group of people playing. So I think the future does look bright for them. They've certainly dispatched of one of their opponents in very quick fashion today. The question really is if they can keep that ball rolling.
Well, that is going to be the question. We'll throw it to a quick break, and when we come back, it's our third and final game of the night. Loud Esports versus Ice Force. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back.